Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Inherited Podcast, where we explore the stories, beliefs, trauma, resilience, and healing that's passed from one generation to the next. I'm Jessica Sanchez. I am the founder and CEO of Daughters of Both Sons, and today I am going to be joined by my incredible co host, Dr. Valencia Henry. And she is the founder of BQS Access Health. And today we're both honored to welcome our very first guest, Tasch Rogers. Tash is the founder of the Unshackled Podcast and Program, CEO of TTT Life Coaching, a former paramedic, trauma survivor, and transformational coach who has dedicated her life to helping others understand her emotional blueprints. And also she shares her story about her healing from trauma and breaking generational cycles. Tosh, we thank you so much for being here today. We're truly honored to have you as our very first guest. One of the things that we love guests to share is a little something about themselves. Can you tell us about your background and tell our listeners who you are, your background, and what inspired the work that you're doing today?
Well, thank you for having me today. I'm absolutely honoured to be on your beautiful podcast. What do they don't know about me? They don't know that the last 9 years have been the toughest 9 years of my life. I thought I'd done some pretty tough things, but this healing journey has definitely tested me in every aspect of my life. And what you see now comes from a lot of work and a lot of reflection and a lot of owning my own stuff and understanding my blueprint and understanding what what intergenerational and generational trauma can do to somebody and how it affects their life forever, for their entire life, if they're not aware and change something. Absolutely.
So, can you talk to us a little bit about your life before the trauma?
Sure. Yep, I was born in Germany. I came to Australia when I was 2.5. There was my mum and dad and my two sisters and I. I grew up in a little beach town, which was a very small coastal community, but everybody knew everyone's business. I thought I was a happy, healthy child, but I also knew there was something very deep inside of me that wasn't right. Could never pinpoint what it was. I knew that I lived in a home that had a lot of stress, a lot of chaos, abuse, alcohol, but to me, that was normal. I went to high school, went to TAFE and did secretarial. I knew secretarial wasn't something I wanted to do, so I joined the ambulance in 1989, stayed there for 3 decades. Was the love of my life, that job. That job came before everything, and I'm sad to say it actually came before my family, and I didn't actually recognise that till after I was out of it. And what that job gave me was my identity. That job was my world because it was my identity. And I was a happy, social, I was the people pleaser. I had everybody coming to my house all the time. I was going to an opening of an envelope. I would go to everything just to be a part of something. I was healthy. I have 3 children. Um, I'd been married twice. My first husband had been unfaithful, so I left him. And as you find out your story, you understand why your relationship topped. So I wasn't happy on my own. So I would go out with somebody constantly, not knowing the damage that was actually doing. So I remarried, had another child. That ended 11 years ago. I was the go to person. I was, people would come to me to help solve their problems. I would go to work even when I was so sick or one of the kids was sick. I was just so driven to be needed and to be seen and to be validated. even though my family was doing that for me, it wasn't enough, which I figured out later. I just had a normal life, as in, married, children, doing the family stuff, but shift work for 30 years took its toll.
Right.
And so, I was just what I believed an average, happy, normal woman, not realizing I was living in survival 5 decades.
Do you feel like the job was sort of your safe haven without you realizing it?
I actually figured this out after I did all the healing. The job suited me down to the ground because it was home. It was unpredictable. It was unsafe. It was chaotic. It was stress. It was high and low emotions, all of those things that were familiar. People would say, Tash, how do you do this? Like, you just don't seem affected. It's because it was normal to me. That instability, that unconditional, highs and lows, the walking on eggshells, not knowing what you're walking into, that was home. The risk-taking, the chaos, the constant need for drama, because my nervous system, that's all it knew.
It was familiar.
I didn't understand. 100% familiar. It was my blueprint. It was my blueprint. So that accident or the attempted murder was not, that was the only way that I was ever going to leave that job, because that's all I knew to be safe.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, and we're looking for love in all the wrong places. Yeah, because we are so needing that love. We are so needing that feeling that we're worthy and that please love me, and it's all that person's fault. But when you have to do this deep work, you recognize, as you said, it's our blueprint, it's our inner wounds that have attracted these type of people, because that's all we believe we deserve. That's what I mean. Yeah, absolutely. Oh boy. Okay, so what drew me into it, I was living in a country town with my first husband, and I was bored doing the secretarial. I was just bored, and I worked in an emergency department, and all the paramedics used to come and sit in my office, and I was like, this is the job for me. This is crazy and chaotic and fun. So I joined and I got straight in. So that's what got me into the job. But I loved being around people. I just loved I have never, ever, ever not loved being around people until I went through this journey. But what the job taught me about so many people was how many different aspects to life there are. It gave me a really healthy understanding of mental health, because I never really understood it. But going through it with patients and 30 years in the job, it showed me what I see on the outside isn't always what's going on the inside. Like, I can turn up to a job and think everything looks fine, but something else is going on behind the scene, right? So it actually made me, and this is where my upbringing helped, I had that pattern recognition. So I was able to sort of work things out. And I thought people wouldn't believe me. I'd go, no, something's not right here. They'd say, no, you're making it up, Tash. And I'd be like, no, something's not right here. And sure enough, 9 times out of 10, my gut was right. The other thing it taught me was we're all just people needing something. We're all just humans living this experience, but none of us really know how to do it properly, because we're not taught from an early age that blueprint dictates who we become. That blueprint, 0 to 7, is the most important thing to learn, but nobody teaches it. So the job taught me resilience. The job taught me strength. The job taught me probably more acceptance than anything. I had to accept a lot of things, but it also taught me how deep I love and I have a passion for something, because that job was so, it was honestly, I can't describe the love I had for that job, which is why before the accident, I had other incidents that happened and I wouldn't leave. And the universe basically stepped in and said, all right, well, if you're not going to leave, we're going to make you leave. Because it was like it knew that it was time to get out of that profession. So, yeah, it really showed me such diverse areas in life. And it's not always what we see is not always what we get.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's the certainty. Yeah, 100%. It's one of our core needs, safety, certainty and comfort. And that job was safety, certain, comfort. And if I thought of going out of that, oh my God, what's on the other side? And uncertainty fears, it fears people, because people would rather stay in a familiar hell than go to an unfamiliar heaven.
Mhm.
Because and I love this quote by Peter Crone. I don't know if you follow Peter Crone. And he says, the sad thing about fearing the uncertainty is it doesn't exist. You're fearing something that doesn't exist because you don't actually know what's on the other side. And that's why a lot of people won't leave relationships, jobs, friendships, because the fear of, oh my God, I know how to handle this. I know how this cycle works. I know how this situation is. I can cope with this. But if you put me on that side, I don't know what's going to happen. And what if I fail? What if it's the wrong thing? They don't give themselves that opportunity because we're so driven by fear and familiarity to stay where we were.
It's like that quote, the devil you know, rather than the devil you don't.
100%. And people don't understand that. And I use this a lot with domestic violence advice. And people will say, well, why don't they just leave? It's not that easy, because their nervous system is wired to do this. Even though they know it's not healthy and they know it's not right, the fear of leaving is scarier than staying where they are, because they know how to handle this cycle.
Mm.
And that's why they say it takes women up to 7 times to leave before they actually leave. And I say this for men as well. It's not just women. Men have the same, cycles. It's the same with avoidant, dismissive, manipulation, all those things. People stay because they know how to handle it. Even though it's not healthy, they don't like it. It depletes them, but they'll stay because going outside of that is scary.
True.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah.
Mm.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. The what ifs.
Mm. 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 Mm.
Sure. So May 19, 2017, I was on shift. It was an hour of my shift left to go. We'd picked up a patient at a local hotel. We were about a minute away from the hospital, and I was driving that night. It was my turn to drive because we take turns. As I was driving towards the hospital, I was talking to the relative, because I had a relative in the car and I had a patient and my partner in the back. General chat on the way, and then all of a sudden I felt like something had fallen out of the sky, and just everything it was just like all white. There was smoke everywhere. I could taste blood. This is all split second. And I'm like honestly have no idea what's going on. I couldn't see anything. Anyway, what felt like forever, within probably a minute or so, I had realised I'd lost control of the car. I was going towards a tree, and then that's it. Everything just went white. I guess for a little bit, lost consciousness, or I believe it was that period where your soul basically says, are you staying or you're going to go? Because next minute I came to, I had no control of the vehicle. It had smashed into, I missed the tree and got a gutter. And I just thought at first, like, what happened? Like, I didn't see anything. There was nothing around. I'm saying to everyone, what's going on? What's going on? I was like so petrified of where I was. But then I just went into this, like a deer in the headlight. I couldn't do anything. I was like, this is like so wrong. Something's wrong. And my partner's screaming in the back and the patient's screaming. Next minute, I'm hearing all these sirens. And I wound down, well, not wound down, the window was already smashed. I had been, at the time I didn't know this, but we had been hit head on at 100 kilometres an hour by a mental health patient. who decided he wanted to kill us. And so I was trapped, and I had no idea why I was trapped. I just knew that my legs were stuck. I couldn't move. I could smell fire. Everything was just horrible. Like there was so much fear. And I kept screaming, saying, get me out, get me out. And then I said to somebody, like, what happened? What happened? And they said, oh, this man sitting over here who wasn't even injured was sitting over there, and he actually had sped his car up, went to the other side of the road, turned his lights off so we couldn't see him, and hit us at 100k, and it was witnessed by people. That night, I ended up with multiple fractures, surgeries. I had broken legs, sternum, shoulder. My face was smashed up. My nose was broken. My wrists were both damaged. Like everything was smashed up. But I just couldn't understand how it happened, because I was driving. Everything was clear. Like it was a rainy night, but it was clear. And I couldn't make sense of how this person hit us. Anyway, found out what happened. That night changed my life forever. I ended up in the trauma ward, lots of, doctors coming and going, making sure that everything was here and there and what needed to be sorted and what needed for surgery and what needed plastering. And during that night, and it makes sense now, it was about 4 hours after I got to the hospital, I was screaming. I was in so much pain, and I kept saying, my stomach, my stomach. So they thought I had an internal bleed. Anyway, they threw me straight in for a CT and did all of that. There was nothing there. There was nothing there. I found out later that was all my stress in my body. It was all the trauma stored in my body. And that's the first place that I always suffered, was my bowel. So over the years, I had lots of bowel issues because of the trauma within my body. So a few days later, I went home. I was adamant I was going back to work, absolutely adamant. And my sister and my partner at the time were like, Tash, you're busted up. I was like, no, I'll just go back and do light duties. I need to go back to work, because it was unknown to me, my identity. So I think it was a week or two later, they organised for me to have an office job. And I was like, okay, yep, I can do that. I walked into the station and I just burst into tears. I had no idea why. That place was my life. And I was like, what's wrong with me? And I was like, maybe I'm just, maybe it's just a little bit of a memory, whatever. I didn't click that I was going through post-traumatic stress. The boss had sorted out a job for me to do, and he said, go into this room and sort out this area of all the stuff that came out of the car that you were in. And I was like, my ambulance? And he said, yes. And I said, that's all the stuff out of my ambulance? And he said, yes. And I said, okay. Didn't recognise that was a trigger. So I was sitting there with all the stuff that was around me on the night, still again thinking, what's wrong with you, Tash? Like, stop crying. There's nothing wrong with you. You're here. You're safe. 2 days, 2 half days, I tried to go to work and I couldn't. And I walked into my boss's office and I just said, I can't do this anymore. And he said, come in, Tash, we've been waiting for this, but we couldn't tell you that you couldn't come back. And that was the last day I was on a station, and that was the last day I wore my uniform. And I had no idea of what was about to come. And about 2 months later, my depression was pretty severe. I started declining rapidly. I wasn't going out. I wasn't speaking to anyone. I was just constantly depressed. I started to drink at home, and I'm not a drinker at all. And I was hiding that from the children. I just felt I was losing myself. I was getting worse and worse and worse. And then some colleagues actually recognised that I was not in a good place, and I had made a plan. I was checking out. I couldn't live like this anymore. I didn't even know how to function anymore. I couldn't shower. I was a shell. And so these people who were in my life at the time organised for me to get some help. I ended up in a facility for 6 months for emergency services with severe depression, PTSD, and suicidal. But the doctor that I had was amazing. He saw how sleep deprived I was, because people don't understand, when you're living in survival and you're going through chronic post-traumatic stress, your nervous system doesn't switch off. You're just on high alert, hypervigilant. Everything is at heightened state. So he basically said, I need to basically knock her out for a few days. She needs to sleep, and then we can start working on the trauma. But what that trauma did was opened up Pandora's box of decades of suppressed childhood trauma. And that was probably the hardest part of this whole journey, because I knew something had happened to me as a child. I knew that my dad was abusive, but I knew something deeper had happened to me. So I spent 3 years doing the healing with shamans, different type of holistic workers, because I found psychology and talk therapy just did nothing. It just kept me in the state, my nervous system in the state of the accident, of the traumas and all of that. So after 3 years, I felt like I was doing pretty good, and I started to be able to go out again. I was going to the gym regularly. I was never going back to the ambulance, but I thought, I can function again. And then I met a man, because I was on my own for a while. I met a man, and I don't know how aware you are of, they say that people like us who grew up in a lot of childhood trauma, the empath in us always attracts the narcissist or the avoidant or the dismissive avoidant. Well, I actually met probably one of the nastiest narcissists I'd ever been across, and he was my dad. I attracted my dad.
Yes.
And
yes.
And honestly, it was only 8 months, but it was 8 months of hell. And it was around COVID. So I was stuck because he basically had moved himself into our house, and he was violent. He was aggressive. He sexually abused me. He was just a dark, dark entity. He was terrible. But he was the reason I got pushed through to my awakening. He actually broke me down so much that I had to rebuild myself. I thought the accident was the worst. This took me down that next path. And then that's when I started to work into the whole deep, deep childhood trauma. And there was sexual abuse, baby abuse. I found out through plant medicine and other modalities. There's a really loud noise. I don't know if it's you or me. There's like
Yeah, I don't hear
there's a
anything
bird.
either.
There's like a bird in the background.
There's no birds here. It's thunder and lightning.
That's so weird. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. Sorry, I just heard this all birds. Basically, it opened up years of childhood trauma. So then that took me on the path of, I wanted to heal everybody. I retrained myself. I did the deep work. I did plant medicine. I did a few ayahuascas to really help me release that trauma within my body, because I had no idea how much trauma is stored in your body till I did this work. So then I made it my passion, and I basically, that version of Tasch doesn't exist anymore. That version of Tasch, I love her. I absolutely admire and adore who she was and what she had to go through to get to here, but she doesn't exist anymore. The work I've done now has put me in a space now where obviously I had complex PTSD, it wasn't just PTSD. I'm able to now help people through that with the work I do. I've healed so much that, yes, I still get a little trigger here and there, but I can work with it. I can turn around from it very quickly. I don't allow it to store in my body anymore. If something's going on for me, I'm able to, release it. And if I can't release it, I'll go to someone to help me release it. I understand the importance. But what it gave me was my life back. It actually it returned me home. It gave me Tasch. I was never just Tasch. I was paramedic, mum, friend, lover, wife. I was all these other masks.
Titles.
The people pleaser. Yeah, the people pleaser. The person that dropped everything for everybody, the fixer, the rescuer, the nurturer. I was never Tasch. So that accident had to strip me down, and then the awakening basically took everything I knew away and rebuilt me. So for the last 5 years, I've been coaching people through that. I've started my own podcast. I have a program online that helps people understand their blueprint. I run live and online workshops and programs because I recognise how much of not understanding my childhood trauma dictated the life I had, the choices I made, the decisions, the fear, the run. I was a runner. Whenever anything was too hard, I'd run, as in a relationship. I wouldn't stay to fix it. I'd be like, no, I'm in danger. I'm done. And the funny thing was, this is what people don't understand. We attract this because of what we know. So we attract these partners and people in our lives because that's familiar. But when we have someone safe, we don't know what to do because safe is dangerous, right?
And
We don't know.
unfamiliar.
And unfamiliar, and it's boring. It's like, oh, when they say, oh, it's just so boring. And now I'm like, give me boring. Like, boring's good. But because there was no sparks, there was no nervous system overload, there was no chaos, there was no drama. Like, you think back, for me, I look back to my relationship. I was married twice and long, like both for 12, 14 years. But I always found something wrong. If it was too good, I'd find a reason. I'd find a reason to fight. Don't get me wrong, my partners were not perfect either, but I can now sit there and reflect and look at the parts I played in my relationships. I look at the people that I put up with in friendships that I would not do it because I know my worth and I know my value. But I used to put up with horrible friendships or just poor treatment because I just wanted to belong. I just wanted to be a part of a community. I just wanted to be loved. But as we find out, our core needs, or if they're not met internally, we hand that out for everyone else to meet those needs for us. So once we start to actually recognise those needs of, we can meet them, we're not controlled by anyone. We don't have to be. I mean, we can basically stay home and look after ourselves if you understand your core needs, you heal your wounds, and you actually recognise how much you handed out power to everybody else. We expect people. I say this to my clients. When we meet someone, when we marry them, we're not marrying a human. We're marrying a nervous system because we don't know what's going on in someone else's life. We don't know what their past was like. It's like going to a doctor and saying, fix me, but I'm not giving you any history and I'm not giving you any symptoms.
Right.
Just fix me. And the doctor says, well, where do I start? I know, you sort it out. Right? And that's what we do to our partners. Well, you should know that. But how would I know that? Well, because you know me. Yeah, but I don't know why that just upset you. Like, one little thing could upset one person, means nothing to another.
The triggers.
The triggers, the little wounds. And people also don't understand when you're fighting with someone as an adult, you're not fighting as an adult. You're fighting as the age of the wound, which is two children fighting. I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's a beautiful picture. If I find it, I'll send it to you. Okay. It's two metal frames as adults, like shaped as two humans, adults. And they've got their backs to each other because they're fighting. But inside is just two little children reaching out to each other. And it is the most beautiful symbol of two adults it's not adults. It's two little children saying, please just hear me, just listen to me. Please just validate me. That's all people want. They want to be seen, heard and validated. Mm-hmm. And can I tell you, my mum, and I don't mind sharing this because I'm an open book now, one of the traumas that was exposed, and I said I knew something happened to me as a baby. I only found out 2 years ago, and Christmas just gone, I went and saw my mum. And I said, I need to speak to you about something, Mum. And she said, sure. And I knew my mum put up with 36 years of narcissistic abuse. So she's not in a good place at 80. And I just said, Mum, I've been doing a lot of this healing. And she's like, yes. And I said, what happened to me as a baby? And she just burst into tears. She didn't even think about it. She just burst into tears. And I said, Mum, just tell me so I know. I said, I know I was sexually abused, but I said, I need to know what happened. And she held this secret in for 58 years. And basically what happened was my dad, being person he was, had taken off. He'd left her with the 3 girls. This is in Germany. She had taken the 2 older girls upstairs. She couldn't carry me in the pram. And in the short time that she took the girls upstairs to come back down and get me, someone had taken me, and it was a man. And he'd taken me and abducted me for like an hour, hour and a half. And my mum was screaming in the streets of where we lived in Germany, looking for me. And anyway, eventually I was found up in this unit with this man. And he assured her that he was just helping me because I was crying. And Mum said, no, she was asleep when I left and I was only like 2 seconds away. So I know that that's what happened. So from the age of 8 months old, my nervous system already said, you're not safe. And how can I ever have a healthy relationship when I don't know what safe is, when I don't know what love is, when I know that men hurt you? And then after that, there was a few more sexual assaults whilst I was a child with people that the family knew, people that I babysat for, a next door neighbour's oldest son. And my mum was like, why did you not tell me any of this? I said, I don't know. I said, it's like anybody that represses stuff. I just didn't feel safe to tell you. And so that was all exposed in 2024. I knew about some of the stuff as a child, but I guess the brain is so smart, it pushes everything down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's trying to protect us. Yep. 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 Decompartmentalized. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Mm.
Yeah. So, well, I knew about the boy next door, and I knew about the people I used to babysit for, but I just used to say nothing because they were mum and dad's friends, and the old threat of don't tell mum and dad, and but the baby one, that's what came out in ayahuasca, and I spent 4 days there, and the pain of that was horrendous. And what was exposed was other stuff that happened as a child, but the brain is so clever, it doesn't want you to feel that pain. And I'm the same as you, Jessica. There's so much of my childhood I don't remember. And people will say, remember, Tash, we did this? And I go, no. Tash, do you remember that? No. Do you remember that person? No. Because we can't go back there. Like, it's that memory's gone. And that's something I actually am really sad about, because those memories have not been able to come back. And so whether in time they will, I'm just grateful that I've been able to release that trauma from my body. Am I perfect? No, no one will ever be perfect. But I can actually sit and look at my mum now and absolutely feel so much sadness for her, because she's had to hold that guilt and that shame for so long. And she was only a young mum with 3 little girls. And, for a long time, I didn't have a healthy relationship with my mum, but now I understand why, because she was living in so much shame and guilt, and used to say to me, what's wrong with you? Why can't you have a relationship? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me. Within her, she knew what was wrong with me, right? And our whole family has never been able to have, my brother is in a relationship, whether that's healthy or not, that's their business. But the rest of us have all been through divorces, can't maintain a relationship. You've got to look at your background. People are so, and I say this to people, it's not a blame game. It's no one's fault. It's what you're handed, right? They were handed the same blueprint. But until someone comes along, like myself and yourself, if someone doesn't come along and break that cycle, it's going to continue, right? And this is the whole purpose behind what I do, is you have to have the strength to go through that, because it comes with a lot of pain, and it comes with a lot of goodbyes, and it comes with a lot of reflection, and people don't like that. But I don't blame my parents. I used to. I don't blame them anymore, because I understand now they grew up in war-torn Germany. My dad was abused as a child. My mum had she believed she had a great upbringing, and then she told me a few things that happened to her, and I was like, Mum, that's cruel. That's brutal. You don't do that to a child. But to her, it was normal. So then when she did it to us, it was normal. So somebody has to come along and break the cycle, because without it, it will just keep going through the generations. And I know you guys are fully into this, it can go back to 14 generations. It can keep being passed down. So when people say, I don't remember my childhood, banger, like, straight away, you've got childhood trauma. Your brain has protected you.
So that brings up something very interesting to me. We always hear the terminology generational trauma, generational curse. From your experience with what you've gone through and how you've been able to heal yourself, speaking to people that are going through the same things, do you see a way of breaking that generational trauma?
Absolutely. 100%. I am living proof that you can do that. And if you are willing, firstly, you have to be open and you have to be aware and you have to be willing to feel it, to heal it. You can read as many books and listen to as many podcasts and talk therapy, but until you actually feel it and heal that pain within you and understand where it came from, it's not going to change. But 100%, I believe I'm already seeing it within my family, breaking cycles, watching my children have healthy relationships. My youngest son was going through something a few years ago, and I've actually helped him break that cycle because I refuse to stay in that toxic dysfunction. If I do anything before I leave this world is leave my children a healthy blueprint. And I've got 2 beautiful granddaughters, and I want them to have a clean slate and a beautiful shot at life that we didn't get. So I'm extremely passionate, and I will 100% assure people they can do it if they are prepared to do the work.
Okay.
Mm,
Yep.
mm,
No, absolutely.
Right.
Yes. Yes. Yep. 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 At home. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
mm.
Oh, it's horrendous. Yes.
Worry.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. What's going on? No, scary.
Mm,
Yep. No. No. Selfish.
mm.
Right.
No.
And our
Absolutely.
kids are watching us. They're watching and learning
Yes.
from our
Yep.
behaviors and yeah.
Yep. Kids don't hear, they watch. Whatever
Yes.
you're
Yes.
doing and whatever you've got going on in your life, and this is where, if they understand the blueprint and the core needs, they're game changers because your children watch how you had a relationship, so they model that on their relationship. Whatever they watched growing up, which is my mum and dad. Mum and dad were toxic and dysfunctional. So when I was in toxic and dysfunctional, I was like, I'm doing great, right?
Mm.
But again, if you don't understand, and this is why just recently I created an online program, which is just a self-paced, self-learning for anyone that wants to have a look. It's understanding your blueprint and recognizing like where you are in that so that you can work out why you're a people pleaser. Why do you procrastinate? Why do you relationship hop? Why do you workaholic? Why do you use substances? Why are you this? It will give you all the information. And then I take them through the core needs. And like in my program, I do 12 pillars and I cover internal family systems, emotional intimacy and relationships, parts work, shadow work, self-awareness, the blueprint, the 3 brain and the motivation as to why we do the things we do. When people go through that, that's just 9 of the 12 that I do. But when people actually go through that, they go, oh my God, I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't fix what you don't know.
True.
Right? You cannot fix what you don't know. And when people, so for example, and this is probably the best way for people to understand why the ambulance service was my thing, my safety, certainty and comfort, my variety and change, my significance and my love and connection, which are the top 4 core needs that everybody, no matter who you are, uses every day for every decision and every choice. They were all ticked in the ambulance. My certainty, I knew where I was going every day, what I was doing. My variety and change was, who knows what job we're going to. My significance was in Australia, the ambulance was the most trusted profession. I was a somebody. I was special. And my love and connection was all my colleagues, my hospital staff, my police, my fire brigade, my family community was all those 4 needs were taken away overnight. So how did I function? I don't know how to function. I haven't got all these things feeding those needs. So that's where I had to learn. And then the bottom 2 are growth and contribution, which is what I do now. So after you go through all the healing and do all the work, you then can, contribute to helping others, and you have growth. So without knowledge of those blueprints and the core needs and how we do what we do and why we do what we do, people just go in circles, and they go to new relationships, they go on holidays, they have more babies, they look for the next fix, but they're just Band-Aids, and those Band-Aids come off. And then there's resentment, and then there's, it's the blame game. At the end of the day, no matter what happens, there's 2 people that are involved. So somewhere along the line, you've both brought your rubbish and your baggage and all your stuff, and you've not cleaned up anything from the previous. So it just stacks on. And then we bleed on people that didn't cut us. I could talk about this all day.
Bleed on people that didn't cut us. I like that.
Oh, anytime. None of us are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 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 100%.
That's true.
Wow.
Right.
No. Too many people get involved. Yeah. Can I go back to your what you're talking about with relationships? What people don't understand is intimate relationships are the best place to grow. If you're both on the same page to healing and learning and understanding each other's needs and background, intimate relationships can be the most therapeutic, cathartic relationships, because you're mirroring each other. What you don't like in your partner is actually the stuff you haven't dealt with within yourself, which is where shadow and parts work comes in. Right? And this is why I have like you, Jessica, I made sure my kids had some type of therapy, because I believe, and I will own the parts I played. Like they say, Mum, you're a good mum. I go, I might have been a good mum, but you took some of my traumas and you took some of my belief system. And this is the thing. Our stories, our beliefs, our values, and our identity is handed to us by our parents, our caregivers, and all of that. So everything I told them over the years, especially, and I'm not sure what field you've always worked in, Doctor, but I myself, being in the medical profession, put so much fear into my children, because I'd say, don't do that because that's going to happen, or don't go there because that could happen, or, don't. I was always fear. And they said, do you realise what you did to us? And I was like, oh, which time? It's like, and they're like, I'm like, which bit did I do? And then they were like, you used to say this is going to happen. And I go, yeah, I know, because I saw it happen. So I wanted to protect you. And I said, and now that I know what I went through, I wanted to protect you guys forever. Even now, I watch my grandchildren and I'm like this, like I'm not a hovering grandmother, but I watch them and I go, oh, don't do. And then Britt goes, Mum. I go, yeah, no, I'm not saying it. She goes, you put fear into us jumping off this and doing that. And I was like, yeah, okay. But it's what we give out, right? Whatever we tell people, and they trust us and believe us. So in an intimate relationship, if you are 2 people that are coming together, that accept that you've both come with baggage, but hey, let's grow and heal and work together. I'm loving watching my son and his partner do this. And they will call me and say, okay, we need a Tashi mediation, because I don't stick up for either, but I see both sides and I go, okay, well, what triggered that in you? And do you guys follow Wayne Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer? No? He's not with us anymore, but he had the most amazing analogy, and I've been listening to him since 2018. And he said, when you squeeze an orange, what comes out of it?
Juice.
And what kind of juice? It can only be orange, right? It's an orange. So we're only going to get orange juice. So when you squeeze someone or you trigger someone, whatever comes out of them is in them. But they'll
Okay.
but they'll
Shouldn't have.
they'll but they'll blame you because you did it. Well, actually,
Okay.
no. You're what I've just pushed was a button, and I'm sorry that I've upset you, but that stuff was already in you. Like, yes, own the part you played, but hey, you exactly. But what you've just come out with is not about me. I understand I pushed the button, but that was already there, and
Then you.
let's understand, where did that come from? Who did that to you? And Dr. Gabor Mate, you guys would follow Dr. Gabor with your work?
Can you email us all these names so we
Yeah.
can share them?
Yeah. Dr. Gabor Mate, I've been to his set. Like, honestly, when I say I researched, I went into this space where my kids thought I was going nuts because I was just so focused on retraining, understanding how this works, why that happened, how we got to here. I spent on Gaia. I went everywhere. For about 3 years just researching. But Dr. Gabor Mate says the one thing that the medical system has it wrong, and he has a history of childhood trauma. He's Hungarian. We don't say to the person, what happened to you? We go, what's wrong with you? So automatically, the person, the child, the whatever, automatically thinks there's something wrong with them rather than, hey, what happened to you? Because you'll get a totally different response from someone if they say, I don't know, I've just been like this since. And so this is what I do. I say to the person from the very beginning, who are you? And if they go, oh, I do this and I do that and I have this and I do, if they've got all these masks, I go, okay, let's go back to who you are as a clean slate. And then we work out where the procrastination, the people pleasing, the, jumping from relationship, all of the self-worth or the low self-worth, all of those things, we go back to the baseline. We go back to the root cause of why do you do this or why you found yourself in these repetitive situations. It's not about what's wrong with you, because how many times when people say that, you just go, I'm a dud, I'm a failure, like I can't do anything. Like I had friends say to me, what's wrong with you? You can't stay in a relationship. I had one lady who I thought was a really good friend once say, oh, I've seen what you do to men. You just chew them up and spit them out. And it was so, it hurt so much. And I didn't do that. What they didn't see was the behaviour in the house. And yes, I didn't handle it well. I would leave because I felt safe if I left. But they don't understand that you had a childhood that put you into that situation where you were constantly living in survival and your nervous system doesn't know anything else but to protect itself.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where people get really like, what's wrong with you? Nothing's wrong with anyone. We all came with a clean slate. None of us came with low self-worth, fear, doubt. The only thing I think it was as a child, we fear loud noises, being a height, like being dropped and not being loved. They're the three things. Right? The rest is
learned.
Yep, learned behaviour, learned belief systems, and it's sad because people are so judgmental. Actually, you did ask me this, Jessica. The one thing I've learned from this accident attempted murder. I call it an accident because it was an accident, but it wasn't an accident. So the event showed me, as a paramedic, I was quite judgmental. I was actually quite judgmental of how some people lived and that because of my programming of you need to be a certain way to be living, right? I believe that this had to happen to me to show me compassion and understanding of mental health, depression, childhood trauma, because none of that made sense to me. I was a very, very good paramedic and I was very compassionate. And I used to always be told I was too nice to some people. But I think deep down, I just wanted to stop people from having pain and hurt. And especially the sad people, I wanted to fix everyone. I was the fixer and rescuer. And after all of this, I remember trying to say to people in the job, like, if they had anxiety about hopping into an ambulance, I'd go, it's just a truck. It's okay. You will be fine. I promise you. But their nervous system's saying, no, we're not safe. Logically, we know we're safe, right? But our nervous system's saying, this is dangerous. Because I don't know what happened the last time they went in an ambulance. So they could have been mistreated. They could have been given a drug that they didn't sit well with. But the arrogance of people that don't know somebody's background is really detrimental. And that is even working with clients now, I never say, but you'll be fine. I go, tell me about that. Tell me, how did you get to here? Like, what is it about this situation that's got you so upset? Like, we backtrack. And that's what enough people don't do. We don't backtrack enough to find out what the root cause is.
We don't do a deep enough dive into the individual to find out why they react to certain situations the way they do.
And no two children are brought up in the same house, because here's the other thing. The first child has got the happy parents usually that are so excited about having a baby, and it's all about the pregnancy and everything's love, love, love. The second child comes along, mum and dad are stressed, finances are changed. Whilst you're pregnant, you're stressed because you're not sleeping enough. So the baby internally feels all of that. So they come in with two different nervous systems, and each child, and this is another thing that Dr. Gabor Mate speaks about, every child has two different parents, because and I've got three children, and they all had very different, upbringings, bringing into the world. Absolutely. Yes. Nope. Depends what version. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Anytime. 100%. Yep. Yeah, I'm so sorry. But because that means you feel safe. Yeah. So my advice for anyone going through that is you have to find somebody that helps you release that from your body, because your nervous system is stuck in that, because it is in your tissues, it's in your fascia, it's everywhere. It's not just a memory and it's not just a story, it's actually stored. So for me to have gotten through, so I couldn't sit in a restaurant, like with hypervigilance, you know yourself, you have to see what's going on. You have to have control. You have to have everything, the ducks in a row. If they're not in a row, you start to freak out. Now I can sit anywhere. I can go anywhere. I can drive. Like I used to not like driving at night anymore, but I did it because I had to drive. But now I don't mind. I could never go near an ambulance. I couldn't put my uniform on. But the more I released it from my body and my nervous system by doing breathwork, somatic, plant medicine, working with somebody that does inner child work and understanding what's in the body. And when we do inner child work and parts work, there's a lot of processes involved in that, which helps release it. There's also, I would highly recommend, if you can find someone that does good exposure therapy, that's really good, because you've got to have enough evidence to say that you're safe, because your nervous system will not accept that you're safe unless it's continuously shown that it's safe, which is why these relationships, when someone safe comes along, your nervous system has to take time to go, okay, I'm not in danger. Logically, I know, but my body needs to feel the same. So the why I'm so good at what I do now is because I felt what I needed to feel. I understood where it was in my body. I understood that I had to change the story behind what was going on, because my story was always, and it's not that you're a victim, but it does become a victim story, right? Because this happened to me. Okay. I started to then go, okay, it's happened for me, because if I can heal, I can help everybody else. If I can get through this, I can help my family. I can help my friends. I can, obviously now help strangers that come to me. But you can't just say, oh, I feel good, because I can tell you now, you will know when you are triggered, because it will affect every aspect of your life again. And don't get me wrong, there might be there's movies I cannot watch. This is interesting. You'll love this. So I used to love all the murder shows, the crime scenes, all the criminal stuff, everything that was dark. I can't watch them now because my nervous system loved that because it was drama, chaotic, on the edge, don't know what's going to happen, all of that stuff. But now my nervous system says that version of Tash doesn't exist anymore. So I can't watch them and I don't enjoy them. Even if the kids put something on, I'm like, oh, no, thanks. So I will always listen to what feels right for me. Whereas when I had the accident, the kids would put on Fast and the Furious and I'd be just crying, like watching the cars. I could watch that now, no problem, right? I have been pulled up on the side of the road to help somebody and my paramedic instinct kicks in. But whilst I was healing, I would avoid anything that needed medical attention because I knew I would be crying in a heap and I wouldn't be any good to that person. It's repetition, it's consistency, it's acknowledging what's yours, it's owning the parts that you're refusing to let go of. And I know people don't like to hear that. But unless we're prepared to let go of some of these stories that have formed our identity, we will be stuck. We will stay in that state. And this is where I like to really, and sometimes this really pushes people because they don't want to, because who are they without their pain, without their story, without their something happened to me? That's who they've become. So it's justified their decisions, their behaviours. But for people that really want to go, you know what, I'm sick of living like this. I'm stuck. I'm overwhelmed. Let's get to the bottom of it. Like, let's get to the baseline. But you're not going to get anywhere without doing the nervous system work.
Got to do the work.
And there's no overnight fix. Yes. I don't do EMDR. Yeah. I know a lot of people that have. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I would love that. Yeah, that would be great. Oh dear. Paramount. Healing. Loving myself. Mine when I'm ready. No. But the book I would tell everybody to read is Dr. Joe Dispenza, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
Okay.
What habits? Self-love, self-care, putting self first, because you're right. If you're not good, nobody's good. You're pouring from an empty cup. That you need to heal yourself so that you don't pass it on to your children.
That's a good one.
I say that to people. I go, heal so that your children don't have to. You are not broken. You are programmed, you are conditioned, and you are patterned, and you are given a set of blueprints that were not yours. You are not broken. Find someone like myself or anyone else out there that can help you understand your blueprint and help you to become who you are meant to be, not who you were told to be. Thank you. No. Yeah. Yeah, so at the moment I have an online course, which is a 6-week self-paced course. You can find that on Linktree on Instagram, or you can find it on tash.com. No, hang on, I've got to get that right. tashrogers.com. Or you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, or you can email me at tashmrogers@gmail.com. I'm happy to have a chat with anybody. I'm in the process of writing a book at the moment as well. And obviously my podcast is called Unshackled, which is all on generational patterns. You can find that on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for spending time with us. I truly enjoyed it. Looking forward to having you back.
Can't wait. Cannot wait. Thank you, ladies. It was an absolute pleasure.
Tash, I want to thank you so much for having this conversation today and sharing your wisdom, your heart with us. We know this conversation is going to encourage so many people who may be carrying invisible wounds. And thank you to everyone that tuned in and listened to our first episode of the Inherited Podcast. If today's conversation resonated with you, please subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who may need to hear it. Remember, while we may inherit pain, we also have the power to inherit resilience, choose healing, and create a healthier legacy for generations to come. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.